As you may know, Proposition 1, which is on the November ballot, seeks to enshrine in our state constitution the so-called right to abortion. Obviously, we Catholics oppose this bill, even though it's an uphill climb with the odds stacked against us. Overturning Roe v. Wade, as expected, has led to a state-by-state struggle, so we prepare ourselves for many more years of wrestling with the issue. In doing so, we can take a lesson from last Sunday's readings, which include the parable of the prodigal son, and how language shapes our thinking and our actions. One key detail is how the three main characters in the parable, the father and the two sons, address one another, because the wording is significant. The younger, foolish son, although he abandons the family after demanding a premature payout of his inheritance, always calls his dad father, showing some measure of respect, if not affection. The father, on his part, always refers to him as son and treats him with great and generous care on his return. But note the language of the older son after he learns of his brother's return, and how the words affect his attitude and actions. In refusing to join in, he forces his father to go outside and plead with him, a terrible act of disrespect. And complaining about the celebration, he shows even more contempt, not addressing his dad as father, but instead angrily snorting out, "Look, all these years I served you and not once did I disobey," blah, blah, blah. Turning his resentment toward his younger brother, he distances himself by saying, "But when your son returns, for him you do all this." And how does the father respond to this attack? He says, "My son, everything I have is yours, but we must celebrate because your brother was dead and has come to life again." The father never loses sight of his relationship with his sons and refuses to allow either of them to reject the other. In the second reading, St. Paul notes that although he himself was once arrogant and blasphemous, God the Father granted him mercy because he acted out of ignorance. This is key to our ongoing struggle against abortion. Many, if not most people, have had their views on this topic shaped by decades of wording like the constitutional right to abortion, a phrase that is not just misleading, but flatly untrue. Whole generations have now been raised with this falsehood, so we have a long way to go to convince them otherwise. To ever persuade them, we need to apply the same patience, love, and clarity that the Father used to retrieve his lost son and to disarm his angry son. By training ourselves to think and speak of opponents as brothers and sisters rather than enemies, we become more like the Lord himself and provide more credible testimony to the gospel. The struggle to protect fetal rights goes on, and in the end, we may not succeed, but we must speak the truth with love, regardless of the result. In doing so, we must remind ourselves that many who support abortion are, like St. Paul, acting out of ignorance. And yes, they remain our brothers and sisters.